This is the ultimate sugar addict's test. Can a sugarholic survive a night of temptation out with friends without caving in? Have you ever felt stuck like you're in two different worlds? Like one world where it's like you try really hard and you don't want to mess it up, and then the other world is like you don't want to miss out on what your friends are doing. Like I constantly have this voice in my head that's like, don't give up on everything that you've worked so hard for. And so going out with friends is like a really big decision for me. You probably can relate to this because it happens to everybody. So in my neighborhood for Christmas, we have a golf cart parade. And basically what it is going around to different houses after decorating your golf cart for Christmas. So at every stop, there was some kind of a dessert like cookies, hot cocoa, or roasting marshmallows over the fire to make s'mores. So I invited my friends to come with us this year. In my mind, I'm like, this is going to be freaking awesome. And then like on the flip side, I'm also sitting here thinking, holy crap, every time I hang out with friends, I have a really hard time. And inevitably, I end up caving and having whatever dessert or like overeating too much. And it totally sucks because I feel guilty about it later. I absolutely knew that I needed to have an action plan. And by that, I mean getting my mind ready like 2 weeks before it was. I'm like, okay, I'm going to go out. This is going to be fun. What can I do so that way I won't be tempted to have these snacks? Isn't it kind of sad that I have to mentally prepare to go out with friends? Like that might seem pathetic to you, or maybe you can relate to that. I know the friends that I go out with are able to control themselves. They don't seem like they have any issues or anything around food. And I'm like, oh my gosh, that's not fair. But at the same time, I knew that they weren't going to like pressure me into like, well, why aren't you having a cookie? Don't you want to make a s'more or whatever? So as long as I could stay strong, like mentally, I knew that it wasn't going to be a problem for them to like pressure me into it. And that's kind of the wrong thing to say, you know, because like friends don't usually do that. So thankfully my husband came to the rescue and he had this idea to make apple cider to bring along, so that way like we didn't have to have drinks at all of the different stops. And so he's been really helpful for me lately, and he went to the store and he knows like, okay, check ingredients, make sure there's not added sugar or whatever. So he found apple juice and there was one ingredient, apples. And I'm like, holy crap, you found this juice. Like, that's so awesome. This is like, why does that have to be something so surprising? It's kind of sad in this world, you know? So he bought a bunch of like fresh spices, ground cinnamon sticks, and like the nutmeg, clovey things, whatever the heck you call them, and then some oranges, and boiled that, or like, I guess boiled it on the stove for like hours that day before we left. And let me tell you, that smelled so freaking good. So I was like super excited that I had this option for myself. Okay. Check out our golf cart that we decorated for the parade. It was like super simple. And yeah, they have a contest. We start pulling up to the first stop, and literally the only thing I can think about is like in Home Alone when he's like, this is it. Don't get scared. So we pull around and we park, and there's this table in the middle, and lo and behold, there's a crap ton of treats sitting there. Cookies, Jello shots for the adults. I'm like, holy crap, like 5 different kinds of cookies. I'm like, my first thought is, okay, be strong, don't eat the cookies. My friend was like, hey, let's go see like the winning golf cart. And it was like the Griswold one, and it was awesome. And I'm standing there and we're walking back to the group area. I feel like there's cookies everywhere, like raining from the sky. And in my brain, I'm sitting here thinking, just one won't hurt. And maybe you've had that thought before, but I don't know about you. But for me, 1 cookie becomes 3 cookies, and then all of a sudden I'm in a freaking sugar coma. So I'm literally here at stop 1, clutching my drink literally like it's my lifeline, because basically it is. My friends probably don't even notice that I'm having like this inner battle with myself, but it is completely real. I am going back and forth in my mind. I'm trying to really pay attention to the conversations that I'm trying to have with my friends, but it's really hard when I'm just sitting there like my mantras like, just drink your juice, don't worry about the cookies, you don't need a cookie, you're not gonna feel good after you eat it. Like, have you felt like this before? Like, it feels like overkill completely, and it feels crazy. Saying this or admitting it to someone that doesn't actually have this issue feels like it's just like this huge thing that I'm going to be judged on, like, oh, it's fine, you look great, like whatever. And I was like, I don't want to negate my goal or like feel like I'm ruining my life by eating one cookie. And like, that's just how my brain works. It's like jumping out of control. Like, what is happening? I actually ended up putting like this huge glove on my one hand so I wouldn't be able to like go and grab a cookie, and then in my free hand I just kept my drink in there. So then it was like I didn't have space to hold anything except for my drink. We are heading into the second stop, and I know that this one is going to be s'mores, and there is little bags of s'more stuff in fire pits. I'm like, oh my gosh, s'mores are so good because you like toast the marshmallow perfectly crisp on the outside and melty and ooey gooey on the inside. Oh my gosh, I was like, this one's gonna be a little bit harder than the last one. Luckily, none of my friends wanted to grab s'mores, and so that was like easy to avoid because I wasn't going to be the first one. But then I go over to the adult table, and they have little samples of Fireball. They have these drunken cherries or whatever, and then also they have like these more jello shots, and they have like whipped cream and little sprinkles on the top. I'm telling you, when everybody goes over to that table and I sit there and I stand there with them, I'm like, oh my gosh, I love Fireball. So I grabbed some, and I made a big mistake. My drink was not full of juice, and so I dumped the Fireball in there, like not even thinking twice, like, oh shoot, like this might have sugar in it. Like, I did search that, and there's actually no sugar in Fireball that I could find. And then I look at the cherries, and I'm like, oh yeah, cherries, they're healthy. Not thinking, maraschino cherries, I think, sit there in syrup, not to mention, like, they put teeny little sprinkles on them, and I'm thinking, my inner battle's like, oh my gosh, sprinkles aren't that bad. You can have one, like, enjoy it. It's not a big deal. I grab one cherry, and I walk away. And I'm like, okay, that was pretty satisfying. Like, that wasn't too bad. Another friend comes over with a freaking jello shot, the one with like the whipped cream on the top and some sprinkles. Like, you gotta do this with me. And I'm just thinking to myself, like, I do not want to be the buzzkill person. I'm like, okay, whatever. Like, do the jello shot. Oh, I like instantly regretted that. I'm like, dang, I should have just said no. She wouldn't have cared. Then as we were leaving, my friend is like, oh my gosh, I want a s'mores pack. So we're walking back to the golf cart, and I was like, oh, I'll go get you one. And I did not grab one for myself. And I'm like, okay, that's good. That was a win. Like, I got her one. I didn't get myself one. We're good to go. You know what makes this really hard is because like every decision that I make is literally a split-second decision. I don't really think it over. I'm like, oh yeah, that'd be fun. And then I'm like, oh shoot. So we get to the last stop, and that one is all adult related. And I'm like, okay, this is great. Like, there's different drinks on the little bar that our friends set up, and it's like there's creamy drinks, and then there's like regular drinks. It's like bourbon, and I don't think bourbon has a lot of sugar. And so I'm having an inner battle with myself, and my friend was like, let's go get in line and take a shot together. And I'm like, oh my gosh, like I can do it. But I'm like, I really want to participate. And I still have my drink. I still have my one glove on, and I'm like, okay, one of these is not going to hurt me. And I know, like, I feel like I made a pretty good decision because I was like, okay, I'm going to avoid the creamy ones because I know for sure those probably have sugar in it and like added stuff. And so I'm like, I'm just going to take like the coffee shot. Like, that one feels like it's going to have the least amount of sugar. The plan to have that drink ready to go and like always holding it was literally like my lifeline. I don't think I would have survived if I wouldn't have had that. Shit, you know what I just realized? Freaking Jello has a crap ton of sugar in it. My dumb self literally sitting here thinking, oh, Jello's not that bad. I'm sure it wasn't the sugar-free kind. Dang, that sucks. I feel like this wasn't the be-all end-all of like my life, and like I'm not gonna let the night be ruined just because I had a couple of Jello shots. I don't feel like disappointed in myself. Life is really about trying your best and sometimes laughing at yourself along the way at the mess ups, but you can't let that define yourself. Have a happy holiday. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next video. Bye!